Is there a reason I'm in this place? I'm up in the air. I'm chasing the stars like I'm dreaming. My heart is facing the scars.
Well, Marky Dragon, also known as Marcus Eikenberry in real life, and tonight I've got special guest Jason Appleton. Let me bring him on here. Jason is from Greedmonger. What is your title at Greedmonger?
What is what?
What is your title at Greedmonger? Do you have a title?
Lead producer, lead designer, I guess you could say.
Well,
I can tell everybody what to do.
Boss, Lord, going back to the old UO titles.
Right, that's right.
So, Jason, tell us real quick what Greedmonger is for those who it's the first time that they're seeing it.
Greedmonger is it's the epitome of a sandbox, massively multiplayer online game. It's basically a bare world that the players will be able to create to their liking. Build into 3D housing. You're going to kill stuff, kill others. It's just a world where you're going to be pretty much free to do whatever you want to do. We're not really going to hold your hand and tell you to go here and do this and go there and do that. From the day you step into the world, everything's going to be up to you.
Cool. That sounds like a game I want to be in.
Me too. That's why we're building it.
Yeah. So, okay, now I asked you at the last minute for this interview, and that is because I saw some claims being made out in public that made me not quite feel right about things. And but then, looks like we're going to keep video on.
I got the same note. I don't know what that note for you or me.
Well, I don't think it's my bandwidth, but anyway, we'll continue on here. If we have to, we'll go to audio only, but we'll keep trucking along. Okay. So there were some claims made out there that that made me feel a little bit uneasy about funding, about my pledge with the Kickstarter campaign for Greedmonger, and then so I wanted to get you here to ask about those, and then also reading more about all of this stuff. It left me at the same level. This is what I just realized a few minutes before starting this, is that I was at the same level of question from both ends. And, which was, I guess, as someone hosting this, was kind of a nice spot to be in, to be right in the middle and not biased one way or another. But, so I wanted to ask you some questions about all of this stuff to, I guess, get it in the open, what's going on, and then also, I just want to know, what the future of Greedmonger is going to be. And but first, let's start with, how is the progress coming along in the game development so far?
Things are coming along quite well, really. I mean, we've come a long way. I mean, just in the past 30 days, the team has grown quite a bit. I mean, I have, let's see here, 1, 2, 3. I mean, we have a team that's been growing, and they're all working hard on getting things done and making progress. And the team's doing great. I mean, we just put out a video, I think, that we're going to show. I know a lot of people have been waiting on this combat. I think the last time I talked to you, I made a comment about, us wanting to get a combat demo out, something that shows some combat.
And we've got that, and we'll show that a little later here.
Well, no, actually, you don't have a combat video.
Well, it's not combat, but there is death involved. I saw it.
Yeah. When I think of video, I think of PvP. You know what I mean? When I think of a combat demonstration, I want to see two people going at it. I want to see the mechanics of things. I want to know, how does it feel? How does it look? What kind of effects are in place? That sort of thing. We didn't do that yet. We haven't gotten that far. But what we have is just a simple little video to kind of show that, we have the new user interface in place. We have a playable character. We can run around an island. We kind of hint at the castle back there, which probably in a video tomorrow I'm going to run through and show everybody videos of that. I can throw out some spells and kill some wildlife and just simple things that it's by no means a representation of where we're, how things are going to be when having so many people have been just begging for something, see something. And I think it doesn't necessarily, I think with some of the quote unquote drama lately, I don't think that the people really care that it's a combat demo. Of course, everybody would like to see that. I think that people just want to know that we're building a game. Mm-hmm. There have been some really shady characters. Just some of the things that you were referencing, which brings all of this into question, is somebody who had posted some things on a forum, who apparently was I don't know if they were a game developer at one point, or they were just an artist or a programmer, who had apparently attempted at creating a game on their own a while back, and I guess it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. And so their big question was, how can this fight promoter with no game development experience, and that was the big question, and I think that's really the meat of what this is all about. Is I think there's some jealousy involved. I mean, the campaign's been going very well. Mm-hmm. The popularity of the game has been growing exponentially. And I think some people out there just don't want to see somebody who hasn't been a veteran in the industry for 20 years do well.
So how does that, okay, so your experience that you have in your different areas, like I know you're a fight promoter, you have your real estate license, is that right?
No, I'm actually a senior licensed loan originator. So
a loan?
Yeah, in other words, I structure mortgage refinance loans.
Okay.
But I am licensed, so I actually passed my test with an 86%, which is no small feat considering it has a 70% fail rate. You can look that up.
Yeah.
I think what this boils down to is, do I have the experience to establish a team capable of developing a game? And so, I guess if we go into my background a bit. When I was in the music business, I never really managed teams, so to speak. I managed companies in the sense that, different groups that I would hire to perform a specific task, I would put them to that task and pay them to achieve it, accomplish the goal. And so, in that sense, I guess you could say I had some experience with the team. I think the real chunk of my experience and what's really enabling me to be able to do what I'm doing here is through fight promotion. I mean, over the years, I mean, I've been so in deep into mixed martial arts, and from doing live television broadcasts. I mean, I don't think anybody out here watching this has any idea. Maybe you do. Has any idea what it means to coordinate a live national televised broadcast on DirecTV. Mm-hmm. Not only to achieve a live national broadcast, but to achieve it to the second. Literally right. To the second. I thought I was going to stroke out, the night we did this, because, I mean, we had, $1 million production trucks, satellite trucks. I had probably 70 people on staff for this event. We did some national marketing in USA Today, and I mean, we did a lot, and I handled all the marketing as well. So everything that was related to that show and every show before and after that, it's pretty much me, aside from, on-site production. So I basically managed, my production staff, my fight coordination staff, pretty much everybody came to me when they had a problem. And in order for this to go off without a hitch, I had to know what I was doing and be able to manage all these people. This really boils down to my ability to not only manage the people that I find, but find quality, talented people who are able to achieve what I need to achieve to make this game happen. And so far, I've been doing a really good job at it. I mean, a lot of the guys, all the guys on my team are fantastic, and they all specialize in their own individual skill set. One is working on housing models, and the other is working on interface and artificial intelligence and so forth and so on. So everybody has their own kind of niche, their own specialty that they're focused on and taken a task with. And it has been going very well, and I'm really proud of what we've been able to accomplish even this early in development. So, yeah, I mean, it's I've done so many things; it's really hard to narrow it all down. But I think you would ask me a question previously. What it seems like you have a lot of interests.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it seems like you just doing a little research on you. You've had your fingers in all kinds of things, and and some of them cool. Some of them you kind of go,
Okay, so there have been a couple jokes about me running for governor. That wasn't really that serious. That was basically me really just fed up with the political system, really just fed up with the way things are in Ohio, really just fed up with how everything is ran. And it wasn't necessarily a real, true to life attempt to try and run for governor, but it was just kind of an effort to stir things up a little. There were some questions that I wanted to. When it comes to that sort of stuff, I don't take myself too seriously, okay? But I did think that it was worth putting different questions out there into people's minds about not necessarily any individual person running, but just some of the issues and some of the topics that I feel like too many people today just kind of vote based off of one party or another without really asking themselves why or who it is they're supporting or anything. So, and so many of these people, I feel, when they get to the point where we're hearing about them, on a national level, they're already bought and paid for. And I guess I just kind of, you remember the movie Brewster's Millions?
yeah.
Okay. That was kind of, not that it was very similar, but it was really just kind of a thing where I almost wanted to just go say, vote for none of the above. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I didn't really take it too far. It wasn't all that serious, but it was just kind of a fun little thing. I set up a Facebook account and just posted some stuff on there. Another thing that was brought up was the fact that I sold male enhancement pills. What that was, I can't even believe I'm talking about half of this stuff. What that was, one of the big sponsors for my fight promotion, I mean, he was a national sponsor, and he was building up his product line. And he had sent me a box of bottles of these male enhancement pills. So I gave them to all my fighters and just basically handed them out to everybody, and everybody wanted more. And so I talked to the guy, and I said, look, this stuff really works, and everybody loves it. They want to know where they can buy it. And he's like, I don't have anybody distributing that stuff in your market. Would you be interested? And I thought, well, heck yeah. I mean, the margins on those things are ridiculous. And I thought, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And so I think I made some comments about it, but realistically, with what all I had on my plate, it just wasn't feasible to take too far, And so I ended up not actually doing it, but I did talk about it, and apparently that was found. So, yeah, it's not necessarily that I have my hands in a lot of things, but I have helped a lot of people in different ways. You know what I mean? Whether it was something that, I mean, and this is going to come off as cocky, and I don't mean it to at all, but when you're in the position I've been in for so many years, everybody calls you with ideas. Everybody calls you with things they want your help with. Sponsors from here to Timbuktu want to be a part of your shows and to get themselves on television, or, I mean, everybody's got something. So, literally, when I was really deep in the promotion, I mean, my phone was ringing off the hook all day, all night, always either a problem or a solution. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, I dabbled in a lot of different things, but, like I've said before, of all the things that I've done, nothing has been truly something I was passionate about. They were all things that were just something that I could do. It was never, anything I've ever accomplished, thinking back on my whole life, nothing has ever been something that I truly felt in my gut was worth doing. It was just a way to feed the family.
And so, and how do you feel about Greedmonger in that respect?
Well, that's just it. Since I was just a child, I remember how difficult it was for my mom to get my first computer. I mean, she literally had to set up a payment plan for an old Commodore 64 at a yard sale so that I could have a computer. And it was like opening an entire new world for me. And so, it's like I was always a loner as a kid. I was always the guy, taking everything apart in the house and building my own little gadgets and I didn't have a lot of friends. I wasn't into the cliques or any of that. And so really the computer was my life. Computer gaming was my life. Always has been. My wife understands it now. I mean, at first it was kind of like, why do you play those games all the time? Jesus, don't you, And it's just because it's the best escape. And through the years I've played really just about everything. I mean, name a console, I have it, and you can pretty much name a game. If it's an RPG or an MMO, I've probably played it. But that's where I've found, that's where I've found my freedom. That's where I've found my joy. And so throughout all these years, developing a game, creating a world that I've always wanted to be in, that I've always wanted to explore and thrive in, that has always been something I've wanted to do. And and it is something that I'm passionate about. And it's something that I'm, a lot of businesses I've been involved with, I've had investors, I've done, I've had people throwing money at me, to try and invest in this game. I have a lot of very well-off friends. And, I've turned them all down. I don't want it. You know what I mean? I want this to be my baby and the people who are playing it. And that's one of the reasons why Kickstarter has been so great, is because I know that everybody who's pledged, everybody that's a part of this thing, they're in it to win it. They're in it with me. My discussion forums, I mean, our biggest supporters, on Kickstarter are our biggest supporters within the community as well, doing whatever they can to lend a hand. I mean, this is a real community effort. This isn't, this is how I want it. And so, I'm kind of a sentimental guy, I guess, so, everything going on right now does mean a lot. And I think some things I probably take a little too seriously. I'm a Scorpio, I'm 7 feet tall. I'm not used to just sitting idly by with somebody, smacking you in the face. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I think I've handled a couple things. I guess some retaliation to this character on the forums. I think I let him get a little too deep under my skin, without even knowing anything about who they are or what they were about or anything. Now, knowing what I know now that I didn't know then, it's kind of all a joke. But it's just one of those things where this is kind of new to me, and this is one of those things that you're learning as you go. There are going to be trolls. There are going to be people who are trying to tear you down. And look, the game's not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. This is what I'm doing. The team is working, and we're putting this thing together, and we're going to build a hell of a game.
All right, so let's talk about some of the things that. So there was I want to come back to some of the claims that were made.
Sure.
I kind of want to talk first about one thing that I noticed that was on your site, and that was that the land is oversold. What does that mean?
Okay, so when we initially initiated Kickstarter, I really didn't think we would sell over 1,500 parcels. I really thought, well, we'll have 1,500 parcels, and then we'll double that. Whatever we sell through Kickstarter, we're going to double that and make that a third. Initially, it was a third of the total land mass. Some of those things have changed. Number one, in development and through a lot of discussions with the developers, we've decided to double the size of the land masses. So they're going to be 40 by 40 meters now instead of 20 by 20. Okay, and the fact is, we have sold. I don't even want to say sell. We have support for over 3,000 parcels now. So we figure we've doubled the parcel size. Our goal ultimately is to make the land bigger. Okay. We thought originally, well, if we only had like 1,500 parcels, then we'll double that, and that's what will be available at launch. Well, right now, we're already past that. So when launch day comes, we're not adding any new land. Sorry, not going to add any new land. I mean, because we're, one thing that we kind of knew from the beginning, regardless of what happened with Kickstarter, we were launching all 5 climates. The difference between the Kickstarter pledges and the stretch goals is how much content are we going to have available for each of those climates. We have to have those climates available just to be able to distribute the player-owned parcels evenly amongst them and not have everybody clumped together. So we'd always kind of planned on having all five climates from the beginning, but we want to have a lot more content available into some of the stretch climates, I guess you can call them. So you know, what does it mean that we're oversold on parcels? Well, the fact is, we originally had only planned to have 3,000 player-owned parcels at launch. So, or whatever's taken up through Kickstarter, that's what we're going to go with if we did beat that, which we did. So, and that's it. I mean, we're not going to, we're not going to create a new climate just for the sake of adding new parcels. We're not. I mean, someday, but not at launch. I mean, at this point, I don't want this, and I told you before, I don't want this game to launch with 50,000 people banging the servers on day one. I want this to be a little quaint. To be quite frank, after this, I mean, we're going to probably feed the community, but we're like our forum community with updates and what's going on. But I don't really want to do a big PR push, between launch. I really don't, because I don't want there to be a huge, I have 50 grand worth of servers in a colo facility. I could probably buy more blades and it not be too pricey, but I don't want to have to do all that at launch. I really want launch day to be very well controlled and maintained, because a lot of people out there are going to be waiting for this independent game to fall on its face on day one. And I want to make sure that, look, maybe not everybody gets a seat, but what we do launch, we're going to run smooth, and we're going to launch smooth. And that's my number one concern. Once we've reached that point, then we'll talk about adding new lands, adding new parcels, up in the ante a little bit and allowing more players.
What happens though when we're at launch day and all the parcels are gone? And I know that your business plan you've discussed before is to allow people to sell their land parcels,
right?
And then, but it goes through you guys so that it's like a secured sale, and you get a piece of it, and that's how you fund the game.
Right. Well, that's a part of it. I mean, we're going to have different revenue generating options. Okay. One obviously is the sale of parcels. Okay. If there aren't any parcels, how are we going to generate revenue? So, to answer that, basically what we're doing is, there are speculators right now on Kickstarter buying up a lot of land. Okay, so there are people who are buying land and pledging for land on Kickstarter with the sole idea to flip it once the game is launched and property values have gone up. I know it, you know it, everybody expects it. It's just how things like this work. It's like an IPO for a new stock. Everybody wants to get in early and flip it when it's high. We're going to experience a lot of that. So early on, we're going to experience a lot of turnover in parcels. We expect that. Okay. How high the property values get, I don't know. A lot of that is going to be dependent upon the popularity of the game and what is available.
So what happens though when, okay, so you threw out a number of like 50,000 people banging on the door, whatever. How many people are we actually going to be able to have in this? You also mentioned in another forum post that you didn't want any sharding. And sharding, for people who don't know what that is, it's not sharting, it's sharding. And it's like when you it's like when,
but it sounded funny.
when you like look through a crystal and you can see through it, you see the same, a landscape behind it when you look through a crystal, and if you were to break it into two and you look through it, you would still see the same thing, but it is now two independent pieces. So they're kind of like mirrors of each other. And it's, in essence, shards were the original servers or realms, but you've talked that you don't really want that.
I mean, honestly, not at first. Here's the thing: a lot of the questions that I think you have are going to be much more easily answered after alpha, because that is going to be where we really get all the data we need to make some big decisions prior to launch. It's what alpha is all about. So do I have all the answers now as to how many servers are we going to have available? How many people are we going to allow on the servers? No, I don't have all that information yet. Once the game is ready for alpha, we're going to start letting Kickstarter backers in. We're actually going to be letting some of the backers in early before alpha, just to have random people running around the world and trying to break it. And then we'll get into the actual alpha phase, where we invite all the Kickstarter backers to come in, run around, do whatever they want to do. Let's get that data. Let's figure out, how do the servers handle? Do we need more quad cores? Do we need to add 20 blades to the rack? Or are we going to be good with 5? What do we need?
Can I ask you a question? You're talking about all this infrastructure that you've built. Why would you not use cloud computing? Why are you using dedicated servers?
To be quite frank, 'cause I don't know a whole lot about cloud computing other than like the Photon system, and a lot of my developers have been talking about initially we were looking at Photon, but apparently there are a lot of issues with it, and we're not going to have as much control over that as we do with dedicated servers in a co-location facility. My colo facility is 2 hours away. I can drive there if there's a problem. So for me, I can make a phone call and say, "Hey, I need to throw in a couple more blades in the rack." It's done. I haven't really looked that deep into cloud servers aside from I know the Hero uses a lot of that. And I've actually talked to the guys who I guess he's responsible for selling licenses for Hero, and we've talked about a lot of that stuff. It just doesn't sound like something that we're gonna.
And what kind of system are you using with this? I mean, are all of your systems working together as one giant system?
Right. It's going to be one quote unquote server. It's going to be multiple servers combined to work as one. Yeah.
Okay. And is this like an IBM Blades or what?
1850s right now.
Hewlett Packard. Okay.
Yeah. Dell. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we've got $50,000 worth of Dell servers. The only problem is I got them about 4 years ago, I think. So they're not quad core servers, but we have enough of them that we're going to be able to run this thing the way we need to now. Honestly, I think we have more than enough. I mean, we're going to be fine as far as servers are concerned. I've had the servers for a while. I haven't even used them. I mean, it's been years. They've been collecting dust in the colo facility. So the fact that, now that we're working on this game and I can put these things to use, and the good side is now I can buy those blades for like $200 a pop. But I think we are going to have to upgrade some of that because I know that we want some quad core servers to run different regions. Right now, if we were to run one region on a server, that's probably going to be it. But if I have a quad core server, then we can assign one region to each core. And so we're probably going to throw some of those into the mix as well, and then use some of the others for database servers and things. So
okay. Okay, so let's talk about the game engine. And are you using Unity 3D? Is that what you're using?
Unity 3D 4, the new one just came out. Supports Linux.
Okay, and that's great. It supports Linux, so you'll be able to get more out of each server if you're running Linux-based. Anyway,
Our Linux servers.
They are Linux servers. Okay. So now with Unity, it's one of the. It's more of an indie server platform. Is that correct?
Right. Well, I guess you could say that only because it's more affordable for independent developers. I don't think that necessarily means that it's less powerful than some of the others out there that are costing $500,000. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not a programmer. I'm not a quote unquote developer. So some of this a lot of this technology is new to me. Now, my developers can pick the system apart and tell you everything and anything you need to know about it. And I'm learning more and more each day as we move forward what the capabilities of the engine are, what are some of the things that we need to do custom. There's definitely a lot that we're needing to do on our end because Unity it's not developed for MMOs. I'll say that. So, over something like Hero Engine, but Heroes, let's just say there are a lot of reasons why we're not going to go with Hero, and we'd rather just code a lot of the stuff from scratch that we need to work with Unity to make Unity work than try to use something else that we know is just not going to work well for our needs. So, it's not so much that it's an independent engine, it's just something that I was actually reading an article recently about the CEO of Unity Technologies, and his model is, look, make it available to everybody at a price everybody can afford, and you're going to have a far bigger user base, a far bigger group of people who are supporting it with assets and scripts and things like that, and it's going to make it more successful. And I think he's right, because I think that's one of the reasons why it is so popular. Who has $500,000 to spend on like an Unreal Engine or something like that? And that's actually been one of the biggest questions I've been getting. Why were you only going for like $30,000 on Kickstarter to build this huge game? Well, a big part of that is I didn't need $500,000 to buy an engine to build it, for one. And two, we're using things like the U-Link technology, the U-Link system suite, which is basically all our server software, which if we weren't independent developers would probably cost us six figures for the license. And because we are indie developers, it's going to cost me $600. You know what I mean? So a lot of the licenses that we're getting to establish the foundation for the game, we're getting very inexpensive. So we don't have to dump, $1 million from Jump Street just to get started on the game's development because of these tools that are available and because these companies understand the value of having independent developers building using their platforms. So that's what we're doing.
So one question that raises for me is that, you talk about keeping it smaller and everything, and I wonder how the scalability is going to be of your infrastructure for if you have massive success. These decisions being made now, like how high up can Unity scale? How many people can you get on a server? How many how big can the land mass be or such?
I know that technically, as far as Unity's the restrictions are, we can get up to, I think it was 450 square mile landmass using Unity. But we have to break it up into individual regions. So to give you an example, if one world climate, okay, let's call it the Arctic lands, okay, we have to break that up into individual regions. So let's say that needs to be broken up into 6 regions. And I still honestly don't understand exactly what this meant, but I think, but my devs were all discussing it actually over the past week, and it had something to do with the I don't know, flow point or something like that. I guess something starts really kind of shifting and getting out of whack when you start trying to manipulate and use a very large landmass in one scene or one setting. So what we have to do ultimately is take these individual scenes, okay, so you call them, or a region rather, and then we're using, actually one of my guys is coding a system to integrate those regions seamlessly so that we don't have load times. Okay. Because right now the only technology that I know of that works with Unity well to be able to achieve that is Pico server, and I know that their license for that is $900,000. So, and it's not even available yet. I've been talking to them about it, and they're actually interested in working something out. But they're saying it won't even be ready for a few months, so we don't even have that to test or really play with. So we're doing it the best way we know how, and that's just through custom coding and scripting. And luckily, I've got some guys who are putting some of that stuff together, so we'll be able to use it.
So tell me about the video that we've seen so far. I had a little bit of it the intro, and there is, and I'll have more of it at the exit. The video that we've seen so far. Can you tell me about the art in that, the assets, the creatives used in that?
Right. Okay. So there's been this big hoopla about buying assets that have already been created, right? So a lot of people ask, well, how are you building a game with such a low budget? Well, part of that is because there is an abundance of 3D assets available all over the place. Now, some would say, well, that's kind of cheap. Well, yeah, it is. But have you ever seen anything in that scene? Have you ever played a game where you've seen that castle? Have you ever played a game where you've seen that tree? If you have, you probably don't know. And so, it's just basic economics. I mean, I could either spend $500,000 creating every asset from scratch, or I can buy a lot of stuff that's already developed, that looks amazing and is completely functional. NPCs are rigged and half of them come with 50 different animations, and you wouldn't know unless somebody told you. And it's no big secret that we're using these assets. So now the question is then, well, is the entire game using prefabricated assets? No, it's not. A lot of the player model, or the housing model, and this is one thing actually that I wanted to touch on. Initially, we were going to use a lot of housing models that are already ready to go, okay? And then we started running some tests on them. We realized that the draw calls, basically a lot of these assets are to be used for single player games. It's one thing that we realized early. So Vincent, Vincent is, thank God for him. I mean, he's basically created a system that's going to We're going to use some of these models, okay, but we're not going to use them in the way we had originally planned. We are going to be using a lot of NPC models and monster models that I'm buying. That's, I'm not going to deny that. We are going to have some like custom raid mobs, and some of the work is going to be custom, a good chunk of it, really. But yeah, we're going to be using a lot of prefabricated stuff that I bought from different artists from all over. To me, that's really no different than buying it to have made custom, because realistically, I'm going to be using this stuff on a scale that nobody else has. If 25 other indie developers who bought some of these things and used them in a game nobody saw, I mean, who cares? That's the way I look at it.
I don't actually think that there's anything wrong with using these kind of assets. It was something that I've never encountered before, though. And I've never been on the development side of a game, and I always thought that, you hire artists and they build it for you. But it totally makes sense, for getting things up and running and everything. And if there's pre-existing stuff, the cost of buying those assets as opposed to creating them is enormously different. And to me, it's more important to have gameplay than it is.
For me to hire a modeler to create one rigged and animated boss mob, I'm looking at around $1,800.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For $1,800, I can buy 60 different already created NPCs nobody's ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
What would you do?
Yeah, I'm not knocking it at all. And so
yeah, it's something that if you point it out in a derogative way, if you point it out like, look what he's doing, this is terrible. Somebody that doesn't understand the system or the sense behind it could easily look at that and, oh my God, it's terrible. But yeah, as a developer on an independent project without a $10 million budget, it's pretty much the only way to go. Now, the one thing that I kind of touched on for a second that didn't finish. One of the big changes that we're making to the housing system is you're going to be basically designing your own layouts for your houses at this point. Vincent's, and I posted some screenshots of what he's been working on the Kickstarter campaign. I don't know if you've seen them yet, but he's basically building the structures in a modular format so that you can build the modules themselves and piece together your own floor plan through an editor in the game.
Cool. That will be good. That's what I wanted in the first place. I didn't want those prefab houses.
I like them. I mean, they look great. They're just not realistic for server load. So, and what Vincent's a hell of a programmer and a modeler. So he's basically, he's in charge of the housing system. And I've talked to several other people who Vincent's amazing. And he is. He's been doing a hell of a job. So, yeah, the housing system has changed a bit. You're gonna have a lot more freedom to do what you want, and you're gonna basically piece your own house together. So. Yeah, and here's the thing. What we do now to get this game developed and launched as a fully functional, exciting, fun game that's going to keep you occupied and entertained for a while doesn't mean that once we've launched that we're not going to be continuously adding custom content, okay? Mm-hmm. There's only so much stuff that's readily available now. We're going to have to use our resources to create a lot of custom content between now and launch anyway. It's just not what we're starting with.
Right.
So, if we can save some resources up front and get what we need out of it and then grow from there, that's just to me, that's the only way that makes sense.
So, now...
I know what you want to ask me that you haven't asked me yet. You want to ask me about something about a fake Facebook or something.
Sure, go ahead and answer that question.
I think you're okay. We might as well just get it all out there. So when I created the Monger Facebook account, mm-hmm. I was looking around on Fiverr.
I was going to ask about Fiverr.
Right. So, and I'm thinking, man, this is a great. There was a thing on there for $5. This guy will get a bunch of people to like your page, and I think it was like 1,000 people or 2,000 people or whatever it was, and I'm thinking, man, that's a really great way to start spreading the word, right? So I paid the guy $5 to get all these people on my Facebook page, and I think 4 or 5 days later they disappeared or something, and it was like egg on my face. Well, now I think it's been kind of twisted to where I don't know. I still guess I don't understand the whole the point behind it, I guess somebody said, oh, he's trying to like, fake his Facebook to make him look more pop. It wasn't about faking the Facebook to look more popular because I had no idea I was even doing any of this at the time. It was really just about just being able to spread the word. I mean, I have Facebook accounts, fan pages with well over 10,000 people, but it's all in different industries. So, and I know how long it took me to do that. I'm thinking, man, if I can spend $5 and get a couple thousand people on Facebook, then maybe when I post something, then other people will see it on their pages. It just didn't work out.
The only problem is that they're all fake, and they're all just bot created accounts. So it just pumps the numbers. It doesn't actually get you anything. No more eyeballs see it whenever you post.
Well, on the thing it said real people, so I figure, hey, this is great. So yeah, it's not real people.
Real looking people.
Yeah.
They're all supermodels.
I guess, and what I don't understand, who cares? Really, like, is there any reason why? Let's say I spent $100 to have 50,000 people on my Greedmonger Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares?
Well, actually, I want to equate that to, I don't know. I don't want to put you on the spot
because I'd look at it as completely harmless. It would be one thing if I were trying to make myself out to be, this big AAA development studio and, look at how popular we are. But I've been open from day one who I am. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm trying to pull the wool over anybody's face.
Yeah.
I was just hoping to be able to reach more people.
It just feels false.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay, let's, do you want to tell us about this video that you had made up today? Do you want to show that to everybody?
Sure. Basically, a lot of people been, saying, "Oh, give us a combat demo, give us a combat demo." So, really, initially we thought, yeah, we'll absolutely be able to do that. That shouldn't be a problem. And then as we've been adding more and more members to the development team, we figure, look, we need to organize our system, establish our infrastructure. Let's get a lot more done and not worry about this combat demo. Let's get everybody on task with, what they need to be working on until it comes together, and then we have a combat demo to show. And so that's basically the path we took. I mean, and so, everybody's been working day and night on getting a bunch of things done. And then I said, well, Dave, one of my world builder, and James, my AI guy, a couple of the guys basically, they said, hey, we could probably get something for you to show tonight if you want it. And I said, absolutely. How long will it take you? So they basically put this little demo together. There's more to it than what I showed, but I was worried about time and how long it was going to take to export the video and then upload it and, have it ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. I can see it's a little rough. Like low frame rates and
I
stuff.
think the frame rates actually, I had to reboot my computer. So what I'll probably do to prove that is I'll probably shoot another version of this video. I didn't realize how choppy my computer was running until after I did this, and I put it on YouTube, and somebody made a comment like, what's up with the frame rate? Mm-hmm. And my mouse was running slow, and I just put a new battery in it, and I'm thinking I need to reboot the computer. So I did, and that's the only reason it shows me running around. I kill a few deers with a couple of spells. Ultimately, the only real purpose that this video serves is to show that we're building a game. Mm-hmm. There's nothing super mind-blowing or flashy about it, but it shows the user interface, where we're going with it anyway. It's obviously a very, early build, just a little demo to show, me, blasting a few deer with some spells, and that's it. You see the castle. You kind of get an idea as to the size of one of the islands. And this island is basically what we're using as the model for a lot of the islands that are going to be in the game for players. But this is also our test bed. So this is where we're going to be testing scripts and testing new code and doing a lot of that stuff. So, that's what this is.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk about what the plans are. So You've addressed a lot of things that have been asked and everything, and a lot of the things that that maybe questioned people's faith in the game, or in the game, or in I guess you as well. And so where do you what's the plans for this next month? I want to talk, kind of like your vision going forward.
I mean, is it, in regards to what exactly? I mean, just in development, in what?
Yeah. So what happens this next month? Kickstarter ends. You're at over $80,000 right now, as I think what I last saw, and
Actually,
90.
PayPal, yeah.
Oh yeah, PayPal, and so and so there's
My number one priority as soon as this is done is I have to organize everybody. So my job isn't done. I'm not going to be able to really dive in with the developers the way I really need to be and want to be until the Kickstarter campaign is, and that's one of the reasons why there's such a delay in some of this stuff, because I have been spending every day going through approving forum members, adding badges, answering questions. I mean, it's just been nonstop, which is great. I love it, but it's very, very time consuming. So once this Kickstarter campaign is done, at that point, I have to go through and organize everybody's pledges, organize everybody's add-ons, what everybody is expecting, what they want, where they want their land, where they want their parcels. I mean, there's a lot more to it. So, I would say, the first, the first, I want to say week, is really going to be, and it probably is going to take me that long, but it's really going to just be organizing all the backers. And then at that point, I'm going to have somebody start working on modeling everything that we've promised the backers. So that's the next step. While my development team is actually working on, getting everything set up. I need to get so much. I mean, that's such a big question. Ask me something, I guess, specific. Like where, I don't even know how to answer that. Where are we going to be in a month? I mean, a lot further than we are now.
Okay. So when is the projected date that you're trying to shoot for, where the first people will be able to log into the server and experience it?
Originally I had been saying, look, we're going to have the alpha in April. That's what we're shooting for. However, I would think, just based off of everything we've talked about, everything we've established, a lot of what's been done so far, I would say it's a fair guess that we're probably going to start letting people, not a lot of people, but a few people here and there start logging into the system and actually playing around and kind of testing things for us within the next month and a half to 2 months. We're at a point now where I can log into the system, I can create a character, I can, you can run around a scene and run around, parts of the world, but I have a digital cartographer right now basically working on a world map that's going to be amazing. But that's what my world builders are waiting on, for him to finish that so they can really start fleshing out these regions. So, everything's going to happen in its pace. While we're waiting on that, Matt is working on the crafting system, implementing all of the different recipes. I kind of threw him for a loop because I was kind of early on that I made the decision. I think I gave him enough time. I think I gave you enough time. I know these guys are watching this. I want to have an experimental system in the game that you're not led just by recipes and things. I want you to be able to combine up to 6 different items and actually craft experimental pieces of finished product, whatever that may be, depending upon the skill you're using to experiment. And Matt's one of those guys who's like, no problem. You know what I mean? Anything I throw at him, he's been pretty good at resolving it quickly. So, Vincent's working on the housing system. To be able to log in and actually play everything that we're building, we're going to have the base systems for all of these things up with probably within a month and a half, I would say, safely. Let's say 2 months. Now, we're not going to have all of the content that's going to go into those systems done by then, but we're going to at least have the foundation laid for those key elements of the game.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, so I guess we're about wrapping up here. But is there anything that else that you wanted to talk about that we haven't touched on? Anything else that needed the air cleared?
I'm at a point now where it basically boils down to this. I'm human. I'm learning how to handle the forum troll aspect of being in game development, I guess you can say. And I what do you say? You know what I mean? I know that the community that surrounds this game right now is absolutely the best community I've ever seen in a game. And I know that I have their support, and they do everything they can to make sure that, that we are full of ideas, full of options and things that they would absolutely love to see in the game. And we listen to them. And, all my developers at least lurk on the forums. Some of these guys aren't, they're not looking to mix it up with everybody. They're busy. But they check things out, or I'll have them check some things out, like, hey, check out what so-and-so wrote. This is the best thing I can say. This game is going to be built. This game is going to be finished. Regardless of whatever's going on, the game is going to be finished. I guess if somebody is truly worried about my experience as a fight promoter or record label owner or all of the different projects that I've been involved in over the years. I think that of anything, I think people should be able to take away from that the fact that I've established a lot of experience in establishing teams of people and being able to guide them in a successful way to something that they can achieve and be proud of that's going to help their career. Whether it be fighting, whether it be, fight promotion, whether it be music, whatever it is. Any industry I'm in, I make waves, period. And anything that I choose to do, I do well, and I establish a really solid reputation for doing it well. Like I've said before, there's been nothing that I've wanted really more than this game. And so not, a couple forum warriors or, a couple hiccups or whatever, are going to slow the process down. We're getting this thing done, and we're going to do it well. And I know that once all is said and done, maybe it sounds cocky, maybe it doesn't, but a lot of the people who are unsure right now are probably going to end up being some of our biggest supporters later. It's just going to take a little more time for them to warm up and really see what we're putting together. Okay. Well, I am a backer, so I'm going to have my land.
And for those of you who want to check it out, there is a link on the YouTube video portion of this in the description that'll take you to the campaign, and so please do check it out. And Jason, thank you very much for coming onto the show on the short notice. Sure. And we'll do it again sometime. I'm sure we will. Okay, and congratulations on the success. You're like 3 times as much as what you asked for. Yeah. Hopefully that makes the game great. Sure will. Okay. Yep. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jason. And for all of you viewers watching, take care. Yeah.
Thoughts, I'm lost in the midnight city. Been chasing dreams this place has brought. Looking for something to give me the answers that I chase. I'm looking for something out there. Is there a reason I'm in this place? I'm up in the air. Give me the answers that I chase. I'm looking for something out there. Is there a reason I'm in this?